the pitch. Is looped towards shortstop. Petroselli's back. He's got it. The Red Sox win. That is pandemonium on the field.
Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, brought to you each week by the National Sports Collectors Convention. Join us every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and get the latest news from the greatest experts in the sports collectibles world. You can watch us on the Great American Collectibles Facebook page, as well as YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And now your hosts, award-winning sports collectibles author Tom Zappola and Boston radio personality Lou Blasi.
Welcome. How you guys doing? How's everybody doing? Look at JP, Tommy, you guys look great.
Thanks, Tom. So do you.
Yeah,
Good morning.
Tom Finklemeier from Finklemeier Insurance. Our good friend JP Cohen, President, CEO, Head of Facilities for Memory Lane Auctions out in beautiful Southern California. Welcome. We have a great show today. Today we're going to be all over the place, but obviously we're going to highlight insurance and how important it is. And again, as Danny Boy said at the opening, don't forget you can watch us on Facebook Live, YouTube, any of your favorite platforms, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all that good. You know, Ellen and I, for the first time, JP, I think you know this. Lou, I know you know this. Mm-hmm. Every night at 4:30 Eastern Time, Ellen and I have a cocktail. We've been doing it since day one of our marriage. We have a martini with cheese and crackers. Ellen, we work out of the, Ellen's in her office, I'm in mine. And we just kind of get together at the end of the day, because sometimes I don't even see her. And we talk about, what's going on. Obviously, JP, we're working on a project now that you're aware of that we're going to announce in a couple of weeks. However, I said to Ellen, I said, I really, really enjoy the show, doing the show. So last night, for the first time, we listened to last week's show over cocktails on Spotify, which we have never done before.
Oh, wow.
Honest to God, never done it. And it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun to listen to. We've watched it. Anyway, I got to tell you guys a quick story. This is a typical Rico story. So right now we have guys in the house. There's a crew of 3 men putting in new stair runners on 2 floors of the house. So they walked in today. Ellen picked out this stuff a long time ago. And I'm up on the 3rd floor in my office. So I asked the guys, I said, can I get down the steps after my shows? He said, absolutely. And he said to me, one of the guys says, by the way, I love the show, but I'm pissed at Rico.
Uh-oh.
I said, what did Rico do now? He said, my son is 31 years old. He said, when he was eight, he said he won a contest and he was supposed to spend an hour with Rico Petroselli and Dick Raditz at Roberto Clemente Field in Boston.
Who would do that to an 8-year-old?
Rico never shows up, right? Rico never showed up. He says, to this day, I'm pissed at him. And I said to him, well, he says, I want you to say something to him. I said, first of all, Rico is not going to even have a clue as to remembering that. Because if I told you how many times people have asked Rico, hey, do you remember this? And Rico's always said, oh, yeah, I remember. And he says, I don't have a clue. So I said, you know something? We're going to find out right now. So I called Rico up in front of the gentleman. I says, Rick, I have a guy here doing some work for me, and he's really pissed off at you. Because what did I do now? I said, this guy showed up at Roberto Clemente Park probably 25 years ago or 20 years ago with his little son, because he won a contest, and you and Raditz were supposed to be there, and Raditz was there, and you didn't show up. Rico says to me, I'm not kidding, I remember it, because I had the worst flu I've ever had in my entire adult life. He says, I was down and out for a week. And the guy's listening to it. I says, Rico, apologize to him. And he said, the guy's name was Paul. He says, Paul, I can't tell you how sorry I am. and I'm going to drop a signed baseball in the mail for your son, who's now 31 years old.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
You
That
like
had
it when
to be-
people
that had
make
to be it.
something right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
That
You
had
like
to
it
be
when someone makes it
Yeah.
right.
That
Louis,
had to be it because Rico is possibly the nicest human being I've ever met.
absolutely.
That
I've
was
seen,
fun.
and JP, we've seen Rico do some stuff for kids walking down the street. He's just, Rico's attitude is, and he's one of the few. And JP, I know you've had interaction with many, many professional athletes, and Rico still to this day gets incensed the way some of today's professional athletes operate and how they are to fans, the general public. And his attitude has always been, are these people crazy? He said, I thank God every day that I was able to have the career that I had, and I owe it to them. They don't owe it to me. And that's always been his attitude. Always been his attitude. So it's pretty cool.
Tom,
Go ahead.
Tom, I think I like you a little better now because you've got something in common with my wife and I. We don't have a cocktail every night with 4 kids, 16 and under.
Oh.
But
Oh boy.
that is how we decompress too, is we'll sit on the porch and have a cocktail and watch the kids out beating each other with a plastic baseball bat.
The only rule now is that because I'm a news guy, I love watching the news, and Ellen is insisting over the last 6 months, no more news.
Good for
So
her.
we go into our great room, and I put on Pandora or Spotify. In the summertime, we sit out on the deck. But
Yeah, we're not allowed to have cell
Yeah.
phones. That time is cocktail and spouse.
yeah, but it's pretty cool, and we enjoy it. We've been doing it, as I said, for 30 years now. So or
And Tom's
29
got a
years.
world-class deck on the beautiful Merrimack River. It's a beautiful view. It's good.
Yeah, we love it, Lou. We love it. They just took the dock. They just took the
Just
dock.
the dock, yeah.
That time of year.
Yeah, that's when we get sad and get ready to go to Florida. All right, let's get. I want to talk about insurance first. Tom Finkelmeier. Tom, I was talking to JP. You've known each other for how many years? How many years have you known JP?
Well, I don't know. We go to the other screen and tell you when I.
Well, it's been a long time. I think I knew your father.
Yeah,
originally.
he knew my dad.
So
We go back at least. Let's see here. At least to 2002. So
Yeah.
So that's quite a long time. And there's 2 people in the hobby that speak highly of you. This gentleman, number 1, and John Tobby's the other guy.
only two.
Just 2 people.
Well, no, the 2 that we know that I've talked about too. And JP and both JP and JT. I mean, they think the world of you. As a matter of fact, I think we used JT as a tagline in your live read. Anyway, let's talk about insurance. It still boggles my mind. And there's a collector that I know that's a very dear friend, young guy, that I think he's got 2 or 3 sets in the top 4 or 5 in the PSA register. One of them being the entire T205 collection. No insurance. No insurance. So I've reached out to this guy, and I said, do me a favor. I want you to call this young lady. Her name is Rebecca Tran, and I want you to get some insurance. And I guess he dilly-dallied, and I guess finally he called her, or he's in the process of working with her. But it's just mind-boggling how many people like that do not have insurance. First, I'm going to ask you this, Tom.
Yeah.
Can you get the word out? How important is insurance for collectibles, cards, memorabilia, all of that?
Well, it's obviously critically important because it's a physical asset that carries significant value. The problem is twofold. People build their collections over time, and it kind of sneaks up on them. I mean, my dad had a PSA 4 mantle. It was ungraded when he bought it at the Cincinnati Sharonville Holiday Inn show when I was, I don't know, 12. So you're talking 82. I think he paid $1,100 for it. Well, we sold that right before my father passed for $80,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, so you have this stuff especially for people that are into the classic vintage. That, my dad collected it all. He was a guy who said, "Hey, JP, you know how we always used to trade baseball cards? Now that you're going to college, can I just buy all your cards for $10? Sure. And when I tell us that story, people say, "Oh, your dad must have been really wise." Oh, not at all. He just loved collecting. And so he had a lot of stuff. And then one day you wake up and you realize, wow, there's a lot of value here. Now, you mentioned that you'll have a lot of people that are uninsured, and I chuckled about that. I always say my competition isn't that there's somebody else out there that does a better job or has better advice or better products than I do. My competition is laziness or ennui. I mean, just people just don't do it. We track everybody who's ever contacted us ever, and keep them in a database, and a lot of them will come back after a while if they leave us. But it's not uncommon for somebody to contact us multiple times over a period of years before they finally say, "I know I should do this," and get it done. There's a big difference between requesting information or a quote and saying, "Okay, listen, I want to sign up here. Here's the down payment," and get on the books.
All right, so I'm going to ask JP, obviously, I'm sure you have a extensive private collection. Do you ever counsel consigners or people? I mean, have you talked to people over the course of the years that you've been involved with this about insurance, about the importance of having insurance?
Oh, I do it all the time. In fact, since Rebecca's joined Tom, I've been forwarding leads or clients that are interested in insurance to have a conversation with them, see what's available. It definitely is important. I think that one of the other issues that I find clients do have insurance, but they don't realize a couple of things. One is that the insurance they have might be an extension of their homeowner's policy, and it's really not the right insurance for our space or the business we're in. And they'll find out, possibly, I hope never, but they will find out that, one, they were wasting money all those years paying premiums, and two, when it comes to a claim, how much pushback they get from a company that really isn't set up for, the collectible industry. So I try to encourage my clients that if they have insurance, they make sure that they're with a company like Tom's that specializes in collectibles, so that when, hopefully never, they have a claim, that it's a smooth process and they're fully covered. It also goes for shipping too. I find a lot of people will go to FedEx or UPS and they'll pay significant coverage to ship that package. And if that package gets lost, those two companies will not pay for anything. They'll give you $100.
They will not.
They'll take your money.
Wow.
They'll take your money, and then they'll say, "Oh, you didn't read the fine print? Here's your shipping premium back. We don't cover collectibles."
Wow.
And that goes on a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking millions of dollars a year of FedEx, UPS coverage that they will never cover if they had to.
I'm glad you guys are bringing this up, because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people watching this show that had no idea that was the case. So, folks, you got to think twice about that, because that's really, really important. Louis?
So there's insurance. I'm sure Tom, can elaborate a little bit about the different areas of coverage, but it's not just covering, God forbid, you get robbed or a fire or something.
Yeah.
There's transportation, there's going to shows, there's shipping. There's a lot of benefits to working with a company like Tom's, and our insurance is with Tom, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
Hold on one second. I want to follow, Louis. Just hold your question, because I want to ask JP. I want to follow up on what you're talking about, JP. And if it's a sore subject, just say I'll pass. But you guys were involved in a theft at the Strongville show.
Yeah.
Now, did insurance help you guys at the time before before the cards were recovered?
Once again, this goes to what I was just saying. Number one, it was very, upsetting to have to put a claim in, but that's why you have insurance. And as soon as I put a claim in with Tom's office, Tom was hands-on. He worked with the insurance company. He worked with us. He even worked with the police department. We became a team to make sure, one, it was smooth. He alleviated the stresses to the best he could on us, even though it was a very stressful period of time losing those cards. And it's not, listen, it was a lot of money and value, but as a collector and a dealer and someone that loves the hobby, you never want to lose a piece of history or something special like
Sure.
what was stolen from us. So being that said, to answer your question, it gave me a lot of peace knowing that I'm dealing with Tom. He gave me assurance that the insurance company, because I never had a claim like that. So he gave me, peace of mind that we'll get through this and we'll, basically hold hands through the process. And he did. So
That's cool. That's
my
good to hear.
experience, even to this day, was spot on perfect.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Very good to hear.
I can add something there too, that, there's a little hidden backstory there for clients of memory lanes. One of the biggest concerns for JP from the beginning was that these consigners be held harmless, and that they were expecting to get paid what the items had gone for at auction.
Right.
He was very, very concerned with his customers first. Not so much.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, it's important if memory lane has a loss that they get settled, but this was consigned property.
Sure.
And so that was number one in JP's mind from the beginning when he called me was, I don't want these people to be out. They trusted us.
Well, it wound up, JP, overall wound up, relatively successful.
Yeah, I mean the final outcome was not bad. I mean,
Right.
obviously, it was a long process. We stepped up. Insurance company stepped up for a couple of cards that were never returned. Once again, like Tom said, our number one goal is to make the consigners, even the buyers, try to accommodate them and give them the opportunity to buy the cards or the items that they bought from our auction. Give them a chance to eventually get those items if they still wanted them when they were returned to us. So it was a long journey. It lasted, about 8 months, not because of the insurance company. The insurance company was right on, all over, making sure that we were happy and that the process of making a claim was smooth. The process that was a little bit stressful for us was more of the legal system, because there was a theft, there was people that were arrested, and it had to go through a process. And
Right.
the wheel turns as, the legal system or the justice system turns a little slow sometimes. But as far as the insurance part, since that's what we're talking about here, the cards were recovered within a few weeks of the theft, all but 2 of them. Those 2 cards were paid instantly, no pushback from the insurance company. Whereas I believe if I was with a big homeowners type insurance that really doesn't specialize in collectibles, who knows what problems they would have
transpired
over it.
It's the nature of our hobby that I said that the one thing, and I talked about this as the stuff was recovered. Those items that were stolen and then recovered, they need like a letter of provenance of that. That actually, in my mind, makes them more valuable because there's a story that this card got swiped and then recovered. Kind of like the Mastro trimmed Wagner. They said, no, I still want to keep it. That's kind of the history of the card now, is you have the one that Mastro trimmed. That's part of that card. You'd prefer it had never been adulterated, but that's part of the history of that card now.
So Tom, just to add to that, so we, after we got through the stressful period of time, we put our marketing caps on, and we did make a card that went like a pedigree card that went with each PSA card or SGC card. And it had a picture of it, and it talked about, we actually branded this whole thing as the Strongville heist. And we had a picture of the cops because it was 8 detectives, and if it wasn't for those guys, I give them all the accolades of putting this. I mean, they really worked hard to solve this case. But anyway, we put a picture of them with all the cards laid out on the table the morning that they were able to recover them and make their arrest. So we did do a little bit of a background and a history.
You got to play it up.
We did.
Absolutely.
There's a picture of the house, and it talks about the attic. And what's interesting about that heist, someone on the internet created a little mini episode of the whole thing from A to Z, from interviewing the thieves, from them getting arrested with the body cameras of the cops, to them raiding the house and getting the cards. So there's actually like a 30-minute
unbelievable
for TV production that someone put on, which was pretty neat to see. But I'm very grateful for the cops, grateful for the insurance company, because even before the cards were recovered, I felt confident that if they weren't recovered, I was going to get paid from the claim. And of course, like you said, the customers, they were all very supportive, patient. So everything worked out the best way it could possibly under the circumstances.
Excellent. I think what we're going to do, Louis, why don't we take a break? Is it too early to take a break, Lou?
No, not at all. Right.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. And I guess what? I have to switch cameras. And then we'll be right back.
I'm Rebecca Curry, a 2-time child cancer survivor, recipient, and advocate for Lucy's Love Bus. The mission of Lucy's Love Bus, 501c3 nonprofit, is to provide joy, comfort, and quality of life for the entire family of children with cancer. Since 2006, they have delivered love and comfort to over 3,000 children with cancer and their family members across New England. The dream of Lucy Grogan, an 11-year-old cancer patient, was to help kids with cancer who are suffering right now, before there is a cure, by offering free, integrative therapies like art, music, horseback riding, and many other activities. Unfortunately, Lucy passed away, but her dream lives on, and today Lucy's Love Bus is thriving.
I'm Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli. I hope that you'll consider supporting Lucy's Love Bus and all of those children who have been stricken by cancer. The Great American Collectibles Show is partnering with Lucy's Love Bus to help these kids. Let's continue Lucy's dream. Please go to lucyslovebus.org for more information.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, We will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back. See, Louis, don't I look better now?
Didn't notice. Was there a problem?
I was using the computer camera. Now I'm using the studio camera.
Yeah, you do.
Notice the bright blues now, right?
Yeah, I know. I got to put my shirt on. I have my shirt over there.
That's I figured that.
Really quick.
Not for nothing, but we bought Lou a slew of Great American Collectibles jerseys, and you think he'd wear one? No, he's got a Western.
They're
whatever.
right here. I keep them right in the studio, so they're right
That's
here.
great. That's great.
The back.
But we started early, so I was kind of scrambling to get going.
Not a problem. Hey, Lou, before we get back to our guests, why don't you tell our viewers about the new Northeast Sports Card Expo that's coming to town?
Well, the Northeast Card Expo hits the Boston area on November 22nd and 23rd at the Marriott Boston Quincy. That's in Quincy, Mass. 26,000 square feet of expo space, 180 plus vendor tables, and everything from sports cards and memorabilia to Pokemon toys and Funkos. It's a weekend for collectors, fans, and families alike. Meet sports stars and entertainers all weekend long, many offering one free autograph with a paid admission. On-site authentication by JSA. Bring your own items and get your autographs verified on the spot. Free raffle entries with every admission. Win signed jerseys, photos, and more. Free commemorative poster for the first 200 attendees each day, designed by Rich Pellegrino. Mascot appearances from New England Patriots and more. Great fun for families and kids, so bring them all. Event hosts. Saturday is hosted by Jason Rossi. Sunday by Mike Sarge Riley. Expect high energy interviews and giveaways. The November 22nd and 23rd at the Marriott Boston Quincy. Get your tickets at the Northeast Sports Card Expo Quincy, now at northeastcardexpo.com.
Very good. Now, Lou, I know you weren't able to ask a question for the first segment. Fire away.
Well, JP fired up about 40 questions in me, but one of the things, and I know we got to get some of the basics here, but what I was curious about is how adaptive this insurance is to value. In other words, JP auctions off a card and the value changes immediately on the card than when it was basically 24 hours before. Or if I go to the National and buy a 52 mantle and I'm bringing it home on the plane and I lose it, is it covered by my insurance that I had before? How adaptive is it? And how quickly do we have to, how active do we have to be in updating it for appraisal and what's covered?
Good question. Who wants to answer?
I'll take that one on. For a dealer like JP, the policy actually has several ways it addresses it. So you specifically mentioned something that was consigned. The consignment agreement between the auction house and the consigner sets the price. So if I have a 51 Bowman mantle, and I'm going to place it with JP to auction it off. The agreement between the two of us that this is the item, this is what we hope to realize for it. There's a line item in that contract that says this is what it's worth until it's sold. Once it sells, that changes it. Now it's a sold item. It's insured for what it sold for. And that's the price that would be covered during transit to the buyer.
Wow.
JP's inventory is insured based on a fair market value, based on either his acquisition cost or market cost, whichever's better. So there's multiple ways. Now, you mentioned, Lou, if you picked up a 52 manual while you're at the show, a personal policy typically, depending upon the company, does not automatically pick up, an $80,000 bump. It depends on how much you've got and what your terms are for newly acquired property. But we're just a phone call away. It's fixed. All you got to do is call us and say, hey, I just bought something a third of the value of my extant collection, and I need it covered, and we've got it covered. Here in my office, that's my sister Jody works in the office, and she is 100% customer service for the collectibles program. Now, another side note, something I forgot to mention when Tom was talking about collectibles early, I feel it's important to explain consumers or even dealers out there that are watching, they may not understand how the nuance of the insurance company and who I am. I'm an independent agent. I just happened to grow up collecting with my dad, who collected since he was a little boy in the 50s. And my father put together what we call the original sports memorabilia policy back in the early 80s, like 1982. He literally wrote it from scratch and got St. Paul Insurance to start selling it. And so we predate everybody out there. So I'm not an insurance company. So I wouldn't be out the money for JP's loss. The insurance company I represent is the one who pays that out. I'm the sales agent. And the advantage we have, I saw during the break, one of the advertisements was Collectibles Insurance. Mm-hmm. They are not a competitor to me. They're a partner to me. I sell Collectibles Insurance and Markel Insurance and Distinguished Fine Arts and 3 or 4 others. We're the only one-stop call you can make that I have access to everybody that sells collectibles insurance in the United States today.
All right. Well, Tom, won't it be cheaper if I buy my insurance from a company directly and not from an agent?
Oh, you think the company's going to not charge that same premium? And no, what they do is they keep the amount that they would normally, the percentage they'd pay an agent like me. So gotcha. If you buy it from them, it's the same price as if you bought it from me. There's gotcha. Absolutely no difference.
Again, that's another important point for our viewers and listeners to pay attention to, because I never knew that. And I was always under the assumption that it was cheaper, but it isn't. Very interesting.
No, state departments of insurance, they don't like that, letting you charge 2 different prices. And, they've been pretty generous protecting the professional advisors like myself in the middle. But the reality is the company, well, they like it if you buy directly from them because they keep more premium for themselves instead of having to pay me. But I will tell you that their staff, when you buy direct from a company, does not have my level of expertise with either the hobby or insurance. They're usually just office folks, super nice people. I'm not knocking them, right. But they typically are not licensed in 47 insurance jurisdictions like I am. And they certainly don't have 30 years of experience in insurance and 50 years in the hobby.
Interesting. Hey, I want to switch gears for a moment. JP, I'm going to ask you this question first. And then, Tom, you may be able to piggyback with his answer regarding the insurance component of it. Is the modern market with this whole manufactured rarities situation, JP, out of hand? I mean, I'm going to use the LeBron Jordan card that Mr. Wonderful bought a month ago and paid whatever it was, $12 million for it. I mean, how is this going to be corralled? I mean, what's to stop or what's to prevent Panini or any one of these companies for creating these manufactured rarities every day, one of one? This has a piece of this jock strap, whatever the reason being. Is it out of hand, JP?
I mean, I don't know if it's out of hand. I think it's a new area of our, collectible industry. I specialize in vintage, so I haven't really, done much in that space. I do follow it. Of course, like everyone else, see some of these record prices that show themselves. It's just like anything else. You need an audience. You need a demand. The supply, is created by these companies, and they're trying to, copy the rarities of the vintage market by creating the rarity by putting numbers and scarcity on their product that they're making. And for the most part, it's been somewhat embraced, with these sales that are going on. I kind of feel like the jury's still out on it. It just depends, if we had a crystal ball, what the future, will show. The past, my experience with that modern market is that the item or the card is only as good as, if the player's well received or popular, or doing well or not getting in any trouble, So I don't know if I have a complete answer other than I'm kind of sitting on the fence here watching, and I do applaud the big sales that go on. I just hope that, that it brings more collectors to the space. I hope more people collect that modern stuff. So far I feel like that demographic is more of a person that buys it and is willing to flip it and sell it and move it. And whereas the demographic of the vintage collector or buyer that I deal with are more interested in owning the piece and keeping the piece, not selling it. Of course, I'm sure they're happy to hear that their item is worth more, or they see something similar bringing more money than they paid. I'm sure that makes them feel good. But at the end of the day, a majority of the people that collect vintage collect it for collecting, not for the value.
Tom, what about the insurance part of it, Tom? Are you seeing more and more modern insurance requests?
I don't know that we're seeing more, other than what I've always called it was manufactured scarcity. And as a student of the hobby my whole life, I lived through the late 80s, early 90s in the card glut. And, I was in college working at KB Toys, and you could buy a box of 36 packs of Skybox World Football League cards for 99 cents. And I got a 50% employee discount. So, guys like me, my buddies and I bought up, 10, 12 boxes of that. And we sat one weekend breaking packs and making sets of World Football League. They were worthless cards, but a lot of beer was drunk and a lot of friendly camaraderie. And hey, I don't have that, trading cards, and there's wrappers all over the floor. So pure collectors are still out there to collect, but I understand why the manufacturers had to create the chase cards and the foil cards and the game worn jersey cards, because since the hobby exploded when my dad first insured, in the early 80s, and now it's on the front page of USA Today. Wow, your baseball cards are worth something. Everything that's been printed since the late 80s, some guy is warehousing it. Right. There's cases of unopened product of everything. So you end up in the modern world where the manufacturers realize, no, we are not printing money. That we found out the market cannot bear 6 different, baseball card sets by each, company. Look how many Leaf and Skybox and, the companies that have had troubles, and then the names acquired somewhere else. Even Topps is owned by Fanatics now. Who would have thought? The great granddaddy. Right. So I think that the scarcity was necessary. The forced scarcity it's a necessity. Even in Magic the Gathering, they had the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. They made one card of the One Ring, and trying to think, some famous actor I think bought it. But you got to do it, because otherwise there's always speculators that are going to warehouse the product, and there's never going to be anything as valuable as the vintage. Is why you have people that focus on vintage, because anything that survived from the 40s, 50s, 30s is because either somebody deeply loved it, or it's just pure happenstance. You know, Grandpa put it in the attic and nobody touched it for 50 years.
Louis?
JP, you talked about the modern market bringing more collectors into the hobby, and everyone knows that's a good thing. Everyone feels that's a good thing. Is what we've been exploring the last few shows is the modern market bringing more investors into the hobby, and is that a threat or is that a good thing? Is that the rising tide that lifts all boats in terms of value for all of our collections?
Well, I mean, as long as they stay in it, you know, as long as it stays healthy, you know, we're in a period of time that the market has been very healthy, and we keep seeing record pricing, and we keep seeing these manufactured one-of-ones or numbered cards bringing an audience to create significant value, that which gets attention, which in turn puts a story on the USA Today or wherever, and in turn that gets interest. You know, people get attracted to that excitement and that fulfillment or success in buying something or pulling from a pack. You know, I think that, you know, what I like to see when I say I like to see them keep the card, own it. You know, so far I've been seeing people get these cards and then they put them to auction, they sell them, and they don't hold on to them, which creates more of a supply and less of a demand. In the vintage market, I experience, and I have for as long as I've been doing this, that the people that own all the Mickey Mantle 52 Topps cards in high grade have strong hands or have more of a desire to collect it than any money that can be thrown their way. So that's what's kept
That's a good point.
Vintage part of the market so healthy. I'd like to see that in the modern market. I definitely understand why these manufacturers, like Tom was talking about, are creating this scarcity because they don't want what happened in the 80s, you know, the junk wax and all that stuff to hurt the market. You know, the key here is to keep these new collectors, new investors, like you're saying, that are coming into the space to own it, enjoy it, and maybe invest and look from an investment standpoint. And then from my standpoint, maybe gravitate and go, wow, I can own a Babe Ruth card, or I can own Mickey Mantle. This is fun. And all areas of the hobby come together. You know, right now it's almost, like I said, two different demographics.
Yeah, it's like the NFL and the AFL. You're right. It's like weird. All right, listen, we're going to take a break. Tom Finkelmeier from Finklemeier Insurance is in the house. JP Cohen from Memory Lane Auctions in the house. We're going to take a quick break. We have one more segment. Hang in there, and we shall return.
I'm Rebecca Curry, a two-time child cancer survivor, recipient, and advocate for Lucy's Love Bus. The mission of Lucy's Love Bus, 501c3 nonprofit, is to provide joy, comfort, and quality of life for the entire family of children with cancer. Since 2006, they have delivered love and comfort to over 3,000 children with cancer and their family members across New England. The dream of Lucy Grogan, an 11-year-old cancer patient, was to help kids with cancer who are suffering right now, before there is a cure, by offering free, integrative therapies like art, music, horseback riding, and many other activities. Unfortunately, Lucy passed away, but her dream lives on, and today Lucy's Love Bus is thriving.
I'm Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli. I hope that you'll consider supporting Lucy's Love Bus and all of those children who have been stricken by cancer. The Great American Collectibles Show is partnering with Lucy's Love Bus to help these kids. Let's continue Lucy's dream. Please go to lucyslovebus.org for more information.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Okay, we are back, and we are spending one more segment with our good friends JP Cohen of Memory Lane Auctions and Tom Finkelmeier from Finkelmeier Insurance Company. JP, what's going on in the Memory Lane auction world these days?
So we just finished an auction about a month ago, and it was a huge success. And on to our next one, which is going to be our winter's sale. And we're taking consignments right now. Have a lot of great stuff. We broke in our last auction a high-grade 53 top set. And how we did it was we actually offered half of it in that sale, and we're going to offer the other half, which will be the high numbers for the most part, in the winter sale coming up. So we are excited that will be part of the next sale, as well as some amazing items that we've gotten so far on consignment, and we're still taking consignments for the next couple of weeks.
Unbelievable. You know, it's I'm really happy that the National is going to be in Chicago. I think Chicago is a perfect venue for the National, and I hope it I hope for more often than not that they have it there. But it's interesting to see some of the really big shows that are popping up all over the country. Do you participate in many of those?
We try. They, like you said, they're popping up. They're everywhere, and they seem to be very popular. I think people are enjoying going to shows again. Whereas the internet for a period of time kind of left people sitting in their basements or in their couch just transacting. But I think people want to interact with people, and they want to see cool collectibles that are being offered out at shows. So we are making every attempt, our team here, to do as many shows as we can. So it's pretty exciting that the industry is supporting that. Because
are you going to be at the Boston? You're not going to be at the Boston show next weekend, right? Or are you?
I'm not going to be there, but Lewis from our office will be there.
Ooh, I've got to order an extra sandwich. Thank you.
And but I'm hoping maybe next go around I'll be able to make it out to the Boston show. But yeah, so outside of the auctions, we started our Own It Now program again on our website, which is a private offering of high-end collectible cards and memorabilia to the public. So if anyone is looking to grab a nice piece for their collection, that's a new part of, or not a new part of Memory Lane, but it's something that we've launched recently where people can buy it instantly from just going to our website and putting an inquiry in for something they might like.
Very cool. Luke?
Tom, can you talk to us a little bit about how coverage works and how appraisal and replacement value is determined? Because it's such a complicated market, and different cards and different grades can be worth different prices, and prices change, are very dynamic. So how do you deal with all that?
That's a great question, Lou. The interesting thing, and the point JP made earlier, we'll circle back to that, was that some people think it's covered through their homeowner's insurance or something they have, and they find out the hard way it's not. And it's not because whoever writes your home insurance is a bad company or out to get you. It's a technical thing about the contract that a correctly written homeowner's policy provides what's called replacement cost, which means if you hear that and you are a ball card collector, you think, well, you replace it with the same thing I lost. Unfortunately, the professional insurance lingo, replacement cost, is the cost to replace the lost item with a similar item of like kind and quality new. So you lose a 52 Mantle, they owe you one brand new baseball card. That's a real shock.
Yeah,
and
it certainly is.
Typically when you start talking about a $80,000-$100,000 piece of cardboard, that's when the insurance company starts reading their own fine print saying, oh, but maybe we don't owe that. Now, again, they're not out to cheat you. If you have a 36-inch tube TV that Tom and you both couldn't even carry the stupid thing, it's so heavy. If the house burns and that tube TV burns up, you can't even buy one of those anymore. They don't make tube TVs. Matter of fact, your local Goodwill or where, they won't even take tube TVs. Nobody wants them. You want a brand new flat screen. That's what you get. That's replacement cost. Nobody cares how old your couch was. If it burns, get a new couch. Don't go find the same couch. That's why for antiques and collectibles, you need special coverage. You can sometimes get a rider on your home insurance, typically only for trading cards. So if you have game worn jerseys, game worn or game used equipment, a bat or a ball, typically you're not going to find coverage for that in the homeowner's market. So you come to us. Now, the best policies are what are called blanket policies, meaning that you keep an inventory. We are happy to store it in our records for you, but your policy doesn't list every item. You just set the dollar figure. I have $100,000 worth. And if you have a claim, God forbid, that's when we're going to say, okay, well, the very first question, get your inventory for us. In the old days, we'd tell people keep a copy at the office or whatever. Well, nowadays, you have no excuse for a collector to not be able to produce their inventory. Everybody's got it in Dropbox or iCloud or Google Drive, So it's not going to burn with your house. You're still going to have your checklist of what you lost.
Well, Tom, let me let me ask a follow-up to this whole conversation. Is there much fraud out there from consumers? I mean, what's to prevent me from saying, okay, I got a $200,000 policy, collection, and I list $200,000 worth of product, send it to you, I pay the premium, 6 months, a year, boom. I say, hey, guess what? It was stolen. I mean, does stuff like that happen?
It's much rarer than you'd think, Tom. When my father originally, created the first sports memorabilia policy back in like 82, to get an insurance company to back it up, there was a 50% in one occurrence theft limitation. And the idea is if you have 100,000 and you're willing to defraud the insurance company, the best you can get is 50 cents on the dollar, which, as any auctioneer like JP could tell you, if I've got to liquidate immediately, I'll be lucky to get 50 cents on the dollar. If you want to get the full value, you've got to go through the process and find those right buyers to maximize your return. But what happened over time, Tom, it just never developed. That, the idea that if you want to cheat an insurance company, there's a lot easier ways than trying to trick them, on sports memorabilia, which is, we love it. The hobby is a huge part of all of our lives, but it is still kind of a niche area. So, I always made the joke that, why isn't the company that want all this extra proof? And I'm like, well, because if a guy called me and said, well, I need to insure some high value baseball cards, I'm like, hey, great. What do you collect? Oh, the expensive ones. Okay. Like what kind? The old ones that are really valuable. We're kind of the first line of defense for the insurance company, that a collector knows a collector. I mean, I've been collecting, my dad taught me at age 5, hold by the edges, never by the corners, Tommy, and we used to lick the photo corners and put them in. I predate the top loader sheets that you put in a binder, so we were back in the photo corners days. You can't trick us. It's the same thing in art. There's, you hear about movies like the Thomas Crown Affair and art forgeries, and there is some of that, but it's really, really hard to do that fraud in a very niche space. So no, honestly, what has been bedeviling us the last few years, when the economy is struggling, especially the West Coast, stores getting broken into. People breaking into stores has been kind of our problem over the last few years, and a little bit of shipping. I want to put my plug in. I mean, don't trust FedEx or UPS to insure the items. Their contract of carriage is not insurance. And if you can even find the verbiage digging around their webpage, which is not always easy to do, and especially in the case of FedEx, they specifically flat out say, we do not cover sports memorabilia, full stop. It's in the print, but nobody knows that.
Do you offer individual coverage like that, or is it included in the collections coverage?
It's included in the collections. A lot of people will call and they just want to insure a one-off shipment. And as you can imagine, the insurance company is not very interested in that. That's high risk for low return. But it's included in almost every kind of policy with every company that we represent. Is if you are insured with us, your collection, then we can cover incoming materials that you've bought online if they're not insured already in transit, and we can insure for dealers in the shipping from
We've heard about
something
that
that's
fear
purchased.
for a long time, going back to just grading, just sending it out to California, getting it grading, and sending it back out.
Absolutely, people are terrified. That's why a lot of folks will use aggregators, dealers that are aggregators, because they don't want to send their 3 precious cards. They'd rather it was in a larger shipment.
And you do that quite a bit, JP, don't you? I mean, how many trips do you do? I know you're close by, but how often are you at PSA?
Yeah, we were there a few days a week. We offer the service to submit to them for authentication. It's not a real business model for us. It's more of a thing we do for our clients.
Courtesy.
Yeah.
JP, before we let you guys go, this, next year, I was talking to a couple of guys on the national, and I've been to some shows locally and in Florida, and one show in particular I was at, 40% of the tables were Pokemon tables. This whole Pokemon phenomena is just exploded over the last year or so. Do you see it at the shows that you go to on the West Coast?
We do. We actually attended a show here in Anaheim about a month or two ago, and 80% of that show was, the Pokemon cards and gaming cards. So it's interesting. It's a whole nother area of collecting. It's interesting. It's a younger generation, obviously, but it's also collectors from all over the world. It's a little different than sports, where, we have people that collect from other countries, but not like this. And
my PCP,
or Magic the Gathering.
It's crazy. My PCP, my physician, who's a very dear friend, he's probably, I don't know, I would say Brian's probably 40. He's like a fanatic. He's a fanatic when it comes to Pokemon. He was collecting them as a kid. Now he's back into it. But now that he's a physician getting well paid, he's spending some serious chink. But anyway, all right, listen, we're just about out of time. JP, Tom, can't thank you guys enough. This was really enlightening. I think we covered a lot of pretty cool stuff. JP, so you have an auction coming up when?
We'll have an auction starting at the end of the year. We do them 3 times a year. We also have our Own It Now offering. People can see a lot of great stuff that's being offered privately on our website. And outside of that, just to talk about the insurance, if anyone ever wants to call me directly and ask advice on insurance, I'll give the advice I know, but more than likely I'll probably be telling you to call Tom. But you're in good hands if you reach out to Tom and get insured, that's for sure.
And Tom, how can people reach you guys?
2 ways. You can get all of our contact information. I don't expect anybody to be able to spell Finkelmeier, at least not correctly the first try. So our website is the FIA for Finkelmeier Insurance Agency, thefia.com, or they can call us at 800-739-3314. And either myself or my sister can cover what they need. If it's a personal collection, she'll probably knock it out for you. If you do either special events, shows, we can do that. We can do auction houses. We do authenticators. We do basically anything that touches the hobby. That's our specialty. And again, we're a one-stop shop. You call us, you're calling any of the other companies you've seen online because we work with all of them. We are an agent on your behalf, and we find which one's the best fit for your situation. And it's not always the same answer. What JP needs is not the same as perhaps another auction house that does something slightly different.
Interesting. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Louis, great job. And we'll see you guys down the road. To our viewers and listeners, every week we say it. Thank you all for the support. Without you guys, we would not be here. And with that being said, happy collecting.